Hi, this is Trevor, and welcome back once again to our weekly tarot card video. And today is Saturday, February the 7th, 2015. And before we get into the card of the week, I always like to just share with you whatever news is happening. And actually, I have some big news. It's going to be on March the 1st that I will be moving to my own private location for appointments. And I'm going to be offering some extended hours, and it's a lovely, cozy little office, and it's at 161 Stafford, at the corner of Stafford and Grosvenor here in Winnipeg. And it is on the second floor. Lots of things about that that are on an announcement on my webpage at trevorsense.com. And that's also where you'll find a listing of these videos kind of put into an order so you can look up a particular card. And then there's also an upcoming events section, and there's some exciting things happening on that level too. With this transition, I'm going to be free to be working through some other venues as well. And it's coming up in February on the 22nd that I will be at the Goodwill Social Club's Traders Market. And I will be offering short readings at that event. As well, there's some charity events that are coming up. There's some other things that I will announce as we get closer to the time. So I hope you'll check that out on my website at trevorsense.com. I'm going to still have an association, of course, with Elemental Book and Curiosity Shop, which has been most kind in terms of letting me use their classroom space for my readings in the last 3 years. And that has been really handy with a lot of the transition that's been going on for my mom, who's been moving into a level of nursing care in the area close by Elemental. So a great debt of gratitude to Dominique there, and I am looking forward to continuing to have some events at Elemental, as well as referring my clients to the great resources that Dominique offers there. So enough about the news, let's get into our card of the week. I know that's what a lot of you have been tuning in for. And shuffling the cards, and I'm cutting them. I always like to do that. Well, you know, sometimes the card of the week just seems to be so apropos, so appropriate to some of the things that I know are moving on for me. And this is a delightful card. I often say this is one of my favorites. I really think I enjoy all of the 78 cards in their own way. But the Three of Pentacles in particular has some really interesting associations and connections around it. We see, again, let's just look at the imagery first in the Rider-Waite deck. We see three figures that are all collaborating. They're all kind of working together around something. There's the artisan standing on that little bench who's working on the building. There's the monk, and it looks like a church, so he's going to be doing his own particular work there. And then there's this fellow in this funny little robe. And actually, that kind of signifies that he's a part of the merchant class. So each of these people has kind of an investment in what's going on. And let's bear in mind that this is the suit of Pentacles. So on the surface, that seems to be about money and our resources. But inwardly, Pentacles have to do with how we are investing ourselves, how we are kind of putting our energy and our values, our sense of worth and what is worthwhile into things. So we have this kind of collaboration. Now again, I tell people to look at the cards comparatively. In the Three of Cups, we see three female figures, and that's a card of sorority. It also has some association to Mother Maiden Crone. Well, here we have a similar kind of analogy, and it is fraternal energy. It is brotherly. So this isn't necessarily about gender at all, but it's about how things have to work and function. Now, you'll notice, you know, in Pamela Coleman-Smith's imagery, we're oftentimes given clues in more than one way. And we see a blueprint in the hands of the merchant and the monk. And that's sort of the idea or the concept of what needs to go on. And then again, we see how the three pentacles are positioned. Each one is separate, and they're supporting a great weight. And this is kind of talking about a small point, that's that tiny little central circle, upon which these things have to come together. They don't merge because if they did, if these circles merged, the structure would collapse. So here we see maybe the merchant who's putting up the money for this building, right? We see the monk who's going to be doing his own particular work there every day. And we have this fellow. And they have to kind of be on literally the same page. So, one might kind of want things done a certain way, and this fellow's saying, no, the structure won't support that. Or this fellow might be saying, no, the spiritual intent has to be kind of working in this fashion. Now, this is where each one has an understanding of the other, but they are not all having to be of the same background. So it's a great card of collaboration. It's about the opportunities we see when we kind of come together with other people who may have different ideals, but there's a common value, a sense of what has worth and is worthwhile that can be at work. So I like to see this as a card of collaboration, which is not the same as partnerships. When I think of my friends who maybe work in an area like construction, they're going to be collaborating differently with different people around different contracts. And for many people nowadays, when we're looking at being kind of self-directed in our work, this is about tying in with associations, kind of seeing the values where we can work together, but at the same time having a sense of our own worth and our own investment. So it's a really interesting model for how many people have to operate. For myself, as an independent person in work, I've had some very great collaborations over time. Looking back at how I worked through different venues, like reading in restaurants, I learned an awful lot being around the service industry. And, when you're working as a reader in a restaurant, the waiter or the waitress can make or break you. You can't be a diva. You have to be able to appreciate what's kind of working and functioning together. And as I mentioned before we even drew the card, I'm very grateful to Dominique at Elemental, and previously, the 17 years that I spent at Blackletter Books in the North End in Winnipeg with my friend Jan. And we continue to have a brotherly association to this day. I call him up and I say, what's your thoughts on this? And we very wisely were always separate businesses, but working cooperatively together. So that's where this card has some very dear personal association to me. And it means that we can work cooperatively, but have different kinds of approaches, different kinds of investment in terms of how some things are working. Working with Dominique has been a great learning experience, and she's a practitioner in her own right. Some things that are beyond my level of understanding, but that I'm able to respect the values that are present in terms of that. So I can see a lot of association to this card at this particular time in my life, and I think it can be oftentimes a great opportunity to learn from things outside of our own area of expertise, and to be able to see that exchange. So just some random thoughts around the Three of Pentacles. Again, I encourage you to check out the news and the features on my webpage about how to contact me either in person here in Winnipeg, or the feature of my availability online over Skype. All of that information is under the contact appointments section on my page at trevorsense.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week, and I'll be sharing more exciting news. Right? Take care, and bye for now.